Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we are going to start with a new command that is truncate. Sorry, we are going to start with the insert command. Why so? Before going forward with truncate command, we will first look at insert command since there has to be some data in our tables to be truncated, right? We can't empty a table which is already empty. So let's have a look at the insert command now. Let me connect to my local instance. Okay. So insert is a data manipulation language command. So let's see what insert is used for. It is used to insert new rows of data into a table. As the name suggests, insert, it has to be functioning like an insertion mechanism. Let's see what's the syntax here. It's very simple. We just have to write insert into and the table name. Along with the table name, it's optional to provide which columns we need to insert the data into. But for better understanding, we are going to mention the column names and what values the column names will have. These values will be mentioned after the values keyword in parenthesis. And obviously we will be terminating the query with a semicolon. Let's see a few examples here. I just want to insert a new record or a new row into the employees table. So I will just use insert into employees, employee ID, employee name, salary, whatever the columns need to be inserted into. So we are going to provide the values here. These are the dummy values. That is, we can insert data into multiple rows in one single query that by using insert into employees, column names and values. Then we will just use values one section, then the third row values, and by using a comma we can insert multiple rows in a single query. Now let's see insert all columns of table. So we can use insert into employees. Here we have not mentioned the columns, so we are by default entering all the values for all the columns. So we are just adding some data here for the columns. Let's try to solve some queries here. So the queries are given below, but we need to create a database and we need to use that database as well. So let's start with creating a database first. Firstly, we will just use our basic command, that is create database if not exists, and the database name, that is insert test. Let's execute it. Okay, it has been successfully executed. You can see here in the output panel. We just need to refresh it. We can see insert test has been created. Now I need to specifically tell my SQL workbench that I have to use this database. So I will use the use command and I executed it. It's in bold letters. That's an indication that the database you have selected is insert test. Now let's create a table here. We have already seen the syntax for creating a table. We are creating an employees temp table and we are providing with columns such as employee ID, employee name and salary. So the data types have already been discussed. Let's execute. It has been created successfully. Can I see the tables here? No, we just need to refresh it. Now I can see the table sections is expandable and we have employees table here wherein we have columns such as employee ID, employee name and salary. Right now our table is empty, so we just need to provide some entries or records inside the table. So let's start with the first query we have, that is insert a new employee ID with ID 1, name John Doe and salary 50,000. So let's see how we are going to write that query. we are going to mention insert into in uppercase format and the table name, that is employees. We are going to give the column names for our better understanding, and then we'll see how to do it without specifically giving the column names as well. So right now I have columns names such as employee ID, correct? Next column we have employee name, and the last column we have is salary. Okay, we have mentioned all the columns here. Now the second part is to give the values to these columns. So we are going to write the values keyword here, and again the parenthesis. We are going to provide these details which have been given in the query already. So we are going to write ID as 1, name as John Doe. Then we have salary as 50,000, right? So let me type it 50,000, done. And a semicolon. Let's try to execute this query. You can see insert into employees has been successfully executed. How am I going to see this? We are going to use the data query language, that is select command here. So we are going to use select star from and employees, that is the table name. So this is a very basic syntax of viewing the table data. Let's see, let's run this query, and you can see our employee table along with the column names, and the first record, that is ID equals to 1, name is John Doe, and salary is 50,000. Let's move on to the second question we have, that is insert two more employees, and the values are Jane Smith, ID is 2, salary is 60,000, and David Lee with ID 3 and salary 75,000 respectively. So let's try to write this query here. Insert into employees. Now I will give the column names, that is employee ID, comma, employee name, comma, and lastly salary. Again values keyword, then I will provide the parenthesis again. Now the ID is 2 since this is a new record. What is the name? Jane Smith. Let's try that. Jane Smith. The second or the last column we have is salary, and for salary we are given the value as 60,000. Okay, but we need to add another record here. So we are going to add a comma, and we are going to write the new record values here. In order to have a better readability, I'm just using indentation here. Indentation is not compulsory in SQL. So we are having the third entry as ID for third ID, then salary is 75 and the name is David Lee. Let's type it. Then we have salary as 75,000. Is that it, or we are going to terminate the query? Yes, we are going to terminate the query. Let's try to run this query here. Okay, we have successfully inserted the two new records here, and again we are going to see how is it inserted. So let's see, select star from employees. You must be wondering what is this star. It's a wild character which helps us to view all the columns from the table and the data inside it. Okay, since we have not put any limiting conditions, it will show all the records. So we are currently having only 3 records inserted in our table. So let's try to execute. We can see all the records have been executed and inserted inside our table. Let's see the next question we have here is insert a new employee without specifying column names. So what are we going to do here? We are not going to provide specifically all the columns here. Since we are going to provide with the columns data directly. So let's suppose I have in fourth entry, that is insert into employees. Okay, I'm not going to provide with column names here and directly use the values keyword. I can use any value here, but to go with the pattern, I'll just use fourth as the ID name, ID value. Then the name can be, let's say, Alice Jackson. Okay, then we can go with salary as 80,000. Then let's terminate this query. See, we have not provided the columns specifically, and then too this query will execute since we have provided all the columns data which needs to be inserted. Let's try to run this query. Yes, we can see Alice Jackson's record has been inserted. Let's try to look at our table here. So again, we are going to use select star from employees and semicolon. Let's run this. Yes, we have a new entry here, fourth, that is fourth ID, Alice Jackson's name, and 80,000 salary. Lastly, we have insert a new employee with only employee ID and name. Okay, let's try this. We will do the same steps, insert into employees, and now we are going to specifically mention employee ID and employee name. Since all the columns are not needed to be inserted, we are only going to mention which all columns data we need to enter. Then we are going to use employee ID, comma, what am I going to do now? Employee name. Here we are not supposed to give any salary data. So directly I'm going to use values. And I'll add a value here for ID, it's 5, and I'll say name as Bob Williams. Okay, and terminate the query. Let's try to run this query. And again, it has been successfully executed. Let's try to see what exactly data has been inserted from employees. Let's run this query and you will see the fifth data and Bob Williams, and since we have not given any value for the salary, we have null value here. So that's it for today's lecture. I hope you enjoyed this. You learned how to insert data into our tables so that you can enter as many as records you want. And in the next lecture, we will see how to remove these records. That is, truncate our table, which directly means emptying our table. We'll also discuss more queries on truncate. Till then, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and also share this video as much as possible. Thanks for watching.